dog. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it, buddy. It's a lot of fun. Hi, I'm Vic Braden. You probably know me from tennis, but the fact is, I've been involved in sports research and other sports for a long, long time. I think I'm going to get a chance to show you a side of me that you have not seen before. But what's really fun for me is I'm going to get a chance to show you a side of sport that I don't think you have ever seen before. So, welcome to my home and welcome to Future Sport.
We're at beautiful Coto de Caza, located 1 hour south of Los Angeles in the beautiful Saddleback Mountains. Coto de Caza is the site of the Coto Research Center, founded in 1976 and completed in 1980. The director of the Coto Research Center is Dr. Gideon Ariel, recognized as a world leader in biomechanics. The world's top athletes assemble on a regular basis at the center for quick checkups on Dr. Ariel's amazing computer, which carefully identifies each athlete's movements and quantifies all forces. Sounds complicated, but Dr. Ariel has made it simple and practical. On Future Sport, we'll take a look at athletes representing the complete spectrum of sport. On today's edition of Future Sport, you'll learn the place-kicking secrets of San Diego Chargers, Rolf Benirschke, the man with the best place-kicking percentage in the NFL. And we'll meet the ageless Al Order, the man at 45 years of age who's preparing for the 1984 Olympics. All today on Future Sport, a celebration of the athlete, the mind, and technology. Welcome back to Future Sport. Professional football, the most popular sport in America. Running backs and quarterbacks get the headlines, but the one player who always seems to be there when the big game's on the line, the place kicker. On his foot often rides the difference between victory or defeat.
Hello, everybody. You know, we have tremendous athletes come to Future Sport, and we are tickled to death to get the big names. Rolf Benirschke of the San Diego Chargers, the place kicker deluxe. Rolf, delighted to have you with us.
Fun to come up here, Vic, and see how this all works.
Got a lot of questions to ask you, Coach. We want to know, how scientific is football getting now?
I think it's getting real scientific. It starts with the scouting of players in college. There are very few players, no matter what school you go to, no matter how small, that can get by the pro scouts and the science that they use in grading those athletes. It gets carried over to game preparation, studying other teams' defenses, offenses, tendencies, and I think it probably gets into evaluating players when players are picked to make a team.
Well, we're going to get into an awful lot of the scientific aspect of sport. Right now, I want to know, how much does the mental part play in this game?
It applies to how you handle the ups and downs, and as a kicker that has faced situations where you've missed critical kicks and know that you have to come back and you may get another chance in the same game to redeem yourself, you have to be able to keep your head mentally in it.
Rolf, is soccer-style kicking then the wave of the future?
If you look in the pros, it's a clear trend away from the conventional style kicking, and we're going to talk about some of the reasons later, but I think visually, without looking at the mechanics of it, you can say that a conventional style kicker has a smaller area on his toe to kick it. If the ball is poorly placed, he has less of a chance to adapt. I personally think that you don't get as many joints involved, and so you can't generate the foot-head speed, and therefore can't kick it as far as a soccer-style kicker. So I think there are reasons why the soccer-style kickers have evolved in the NFL.
You know what's so nice about science? We can tell.
Harvard University's place kicker Joe Abbott was a recent visitor to the Coto Research Center. His problem was classic among place kickers of all levels: how to increase distance without losing accuracy. So we took Joe through a complete program of biomechanical training. And after extensive work with computers, force plate analysis, and so on, it was clearly demonstrated that one key to kicking improvement is a firm plant or stop with a non-kicking leg. And we're going to do the same thing to you, Rolf.
Earlier this week, we did some biomechanical analysis of Rolf, and now he's going to get a chance to see what he really looks like when he just views his skeleton.
I hope this doesn't prove that I should never have gotten past high school football.
Let's take a look.
By photographing several of Rolf's kicks on high-speed film, from 100 frames a second, sometimes up to 10,000 frames a second, and then analyzing that film with computers, we're able to diagnose Rolf's kicking motion. And Dr. Ariel explains the process of digitization.
Vic, this little pen is the key to digitizing. Every time you touch with this pen, this sensitive screen, the information going right to the computer. With us here is Dr. Ann Penny. She is going to digitize Rolf in his kicking process. Every time she's touching the digitizer, the information on location of these points going directly to our computer can do all the calculation to find out how much the segments move, how fast they move, how they accelerate or decelerate, how much energy was lost or was gained, all the information that future sport athletic will use in order to increase performance in the future. What we see here is Rolf making an advance forward and abruptly stop with the non-kicking leg. This abrupt stop actually transfer energy to the kicking leg, and by that enabling Rolf to kick farther. The objectives of the kicker is running forward, utilize this energy, and abruptly stop the leg so we can transfer the energy to the kicking leg. Let's look on it in a multiple image. Here you see the non-kicking leg moving, but at that point it abruptly stops, and that's what makes the other leg snap into the ball. So Vic, the key to kicking is the non-kicking leg.
You know, Rolf, it's amazing to me when you see that biomechanical analysis to find out how important the left leg is, even if you're a right-footed kicker.
You know, you're right. I always knew it was important, and I knew that if it was a wet grass field that I would have a hard time kicking, but now I really understand why.
You know, talking about a wet field, if you're slipping, you're in deep trouble because, again, earlier this week, we were able to measure all the forces that you transmit through the ground. Let's take a look at what we found out on the force plate.
Okay.
And while Gideon was inside on the monitor checking things out, we had you on the force plate trying to discover how many forces you could transmit through the ground. Let's take a look at what Gideon discovered.
As you can see, Vic, Rolf generated tremendous amount of force with the non-kicking leg. He transferred over 500 pounds of force, more than 2.5 times his body weight, from his left foot to the right. The average kicker would transfer maybe 300 pounds or a little bit more than that. The amazing phenomena about Rolf that he's very consistent. He's like a signature. Anybody that tries to sign his name, always it looks the same. With Rolf, every time he's kicking the ball, it looks exactly the same. He's within 1% of the previous kick. And that's what makes a great kicker.
You skinny little runt, that's amazing to me. I mean, 500 and some pounds on the left foot, that's amazing.
You know what's amazing to me is that it's the left foot and not the right. And the fact that I could kick it just about as far if I didn't have big muscles on my right leg.
Yeah, it's just so the mass is the same, absolutely.
It's amazing.
But you know something? Computers, you said it before, garbage in, garbage out. They don't measure motivation, don't measure anything. Let's take a hypothetical situation. Monday Night Football. Howard Cosell at the mic. You got 50 million people around the country watching the doggone ball game. You're down to about 2 seconds left. This kick, you win or lose, baby. And you got those guys coming at you. Each guy wants to eat you alive. 330 pounds. Now, what does biomechanics do for you?
I guarantee you don't start thinking about force vectors and that sort of thing. What you really do is, I think, you visualize the kick on the sidelines. I know you're big into that. I spend a lot of time on the sidelines thinking about it. But when you get on the field, it becomes real physical. You look for a good spot. You want to have a good plant spot. You want to maybe have a little higher area for them to put the ball on. And then you just kick it. You try to free your mind up. You don't want your mind to control your body. You just go out there and kick it. The minute you start to try to guide the ball with your mind, the minute you're going to start to miss.
Have you ever missed?
Once or twice. But, you know, I'm just happy to be doing this again because there was a while a couple of years ago when playing football was never in my future.
Rolf Benerska, who 3 years ago nearly died of Crohn's disease, now an NFL star. From football legs to Olympic legs, these belong to perhaps the greatest Olympian in history. Welcome back to beautiful Coto de Casa.
With us now on Future Sport, the man who really made history with the discus and still setting the pace, Al Order, 45-year-old discus genius who still is a threat to everybody in the world, and Dr. Gideon Ariel. Al, delighted to have you on the show, obviously, but why is a guy 45 years old throwing a discus, and why are you still beating most of the people in the world?
I have yet to figure that out. But I enjoy it. I've always had a philosophy that you don't have to go out and win everything. As long as you enjoy it and you work hard, you know, the capability evolves, and that normally takes care of the winning kind of thing. I absolutely enjoy throwing. I'm going to be throwing for another 25 years.
Gideon, 45 years of age, I've alluded to that, and yet a couple of years ago he had a combination of 3 of the best throws. Are we beginning to shrink chronological and biological age, or are we beginning to expand the difference?
Our body going by our genetic capabilities. And apparently, at the age of 45, you don't have to say I'm an old man. As far as I'm concerned, Al right now is probably 25, 26 years old biologically. What chronologically, that's for the birds.
Did you know about Al before you started throwing?
Al was my idol. In fact, in the kibbutz in Israel, I had his picture above my bed. Every morning, I would worship. I mean, thousands of years ago, they would kill me. They would say that I worship idols, you know, but he was my idol for many, many years, from 1955.
All right, Al, it's time for you.
That's a long time ago, right?
That's right. You're getting older, you're getting younger. Al, you have a scientific interest. Where'd that come from?
Well, I've been in computers now for, 20, 21 years or something like that. And when I started back into competition, I had an 8-year layoff from 1968 through 76. And when I started back, I thought I might as well learn as much as I can about the throw. And I hooked up with Gideon immediately to find out exactly what I was doing wrong. Why not take advantage of all of the innovations that occurred through that 8-year span? And I think the computer analysis of the technique in my event was absolutely the most important thing. I could determine for the first time what coaches were trying to tell me. I could see quantitatively where I was accelerating, decelerating, all these kinds of things. And in going through that analysis, I was able then to launch into my kind of newfound career, okay, with new enthusiasm and knowing what I was doing.
Al, to understand the future, we have to understand the past. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you're the past and the present and the future. Now, where are we going to go with this game?
I think the computer analysis will continue. I think we'll get into, very shortly, an area where athletes will be able to almost step inside themselves. We'll have computers simulating what the perfect throw will be, and throwers will be, in effect, able to enter their own image created by film, by computers, and as they execute the throw, if an arm goes out too far, a head tilts or something, there'll be an alarm go off to say you're changing.
So feedback systems and computers are going to be very important. You see that, Gideon?
Well, hologram is the thing of the future, and I tell you, I'm learning from Al more than he learned from me, but he's ahead of the game all the time because he really talk about the future. We're talking about holography now, where you will have the ideal model that you actually will see. You cannot touch it because you see it, but you cannot touch it, but you can put your body right in it. And every time you depart from efficiency, either you'll have some kind of feedback and alarm system, or I don't know, maybe in East Germany they will give you a 220.
I know, there are things, okay, that are a little frightening about the entire environment of computer introduction into sport, because computers, 10 years ago I couldn't lift computers that, right now I hold in the palm of my hand very easily. And why not in the future be able to implant computers within an athlete and through telemetry exercise that athlete? Because the thing that prevents a runner from going very fast is his brain. And through telemetry, you can override that brain feedback that says, I think I'm going too fast or I'm fatigued. You can override that with computer implants that are stimulating various muscle groups. That's frightening because then we're into robotics.
Well, is that going to be legal? You see a lot of changes taking place in the Olympic rules, etc.?
Oh, the technology is here today. Certainly there's going to have to be a way of combating it, because then you'll have coaches up in the stands, okay, with little telemetry stations activating their athletes. There obviously has to be a stop to that. How you do it is through some kind of body scan.
I 100% agree with you, because we are here dealing with a balance between art and science, and when one taking over, you have a situation which is really non-athletics anymore, and we should use science to amplify our mind in a way where you can perform the best, but it should be in a non-invasive method. We should never implant chips in our body. We should never take drugs. We should do it as natural as possible to achieve our maximum.
Sure. Just enhance an athlete's capability to exercise more efficiently, to be more productive in his training environment. That's what we want.
But we should really be alert, because so many new things are happening, sports changing, and we're only going to control the future by doing something now. And if we're not thinking ahead, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. But anyway, Sal, it's great having you here, honestly.
No, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And a future gold medalist.
Yes, 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 I'll be there.
Future Sport continues in a moment.
We've got tons of exciting sports information coming up on Future Sport. So let's take a quick look at some of the segments you'll see on future editions.
We'll visit with the United States Women's Olympic Volleyball team. They're looking for 84 gold. From the shores of Hawaii, you'll meet triathlon superstar Scott Tinley. No one can beat this man in the hurdles, and we'll find out why. And the cannonball tennis serve of Roscoe Tanner will be coming right at you. Ann Myers, the only woman ever drafted by the NBA, will be our guest. And speaking of the NBA, Rookie of the Year Buck Williams will join us. Along with 1968 Olympic decathlon champion, the courageous Bill Toomey. You'll meet gymnastic champion Sharon Shapiro. And this man, former heavyweight boxer Ken Norton. Television sports journalist Charlie Jones hits the golf links and compares strokes with the smooth-swinging Jerry Page. We'll also take a special look at superstars who aren't quite as famous, but just as important. Ryan O'Field's awesome strength will amaze you. And you'll meet pole vault great Bob Seagren, who dominated television's superstars. You'll visit with today's youth. And because there can be no future without understanding the past, you'll meet yesterday's greatest champions. Olympic champion and future sports running advisor Frank Shorter will be a regular guest. Along with our resident computer expert, Dr. Gideon Ariel, he'll present the science of sports in a way you have never seen before. We'll be back with the wrap-up of this edition of Future Sport right after this.
We get a lot of letters, people saying, how do we get that information you guys are pumping out in sports research at Dakota Research Center? Finally, we get our forum, buddy. We're going to get a chance to tell those people, and they're going to get a chance to take a shot at us.
And we are going to tell the story that the American technology is the best technology in the world.
Best technology in the world, and you're going to get a chance to see a heck of a lot of it
on later editions of Future Sport. This is Vic Braden for Gideon Ariel saying so long. The executive producer of Future Sport is Jim Millman. Produced by Jim Cross.